Vertigo is a film directed by Alfred Hitchcock in 1958, starring James Stewart as John Ferguson, aka Scotty, and Kim Novak as Madeline Elster and later on Judy Burton. It is an adaptation of the French novel The Living and the Dead, also known as D'Entre les Morts, by Pierre Boileau and Thomas Narcejac. It was written in 1954. The psychological thriller film presents four main themes: death, vertigo, greenery, and resurrection.
Alfred Hitchcock was born August 13, 1899 in London and died April 29, 1980 in Bel Air, LA. At Universal Studios, where he produced most of his films, he has a building named after him, and there exists Alfred Hitchcock Lane. His most important movies include Shadow of a Doubt in 1943,
Faded, fat, greedy women.
But they're alive, they're human beings.
Are they?
Rear Window in 1954,
Hello, Tom. I think Thorwald's left. I don't. Hello.
Vertigo in 1958, North by Northwest in 1959, and Psycho in 1960.
Hitchcock joined the film industry around 1920 after a short engineering career. He began his profession by painting and drawing sets of movies because of his artistic talent. There, he met Alma Reville, director, screenwriter, and later Hitchcock's wife. Hitchcock went on to be hired to direct his first full-length film called Number 13 from start to finish in 1922, but it was not completed because of the studio closure. Despite this, Hitchcock did not stop directing. In 1923, the original director of a film named Always Tell Your Wife fell ill, so he was called to complete it, which is when he and Reville actually started to collaborate.
He directed many more films in the coming years, including The Pleasure Garden in 1925 and The Lodger in 1927. This was the same year he and Alma got married and they had a child named Patricia. He won an Academy Award in 1939 for his first American film, Rebecca.
Thank you.
His success followed him in the coming years with more than 50 films produced, and he gained international recognition. Hitchcock's success grew and followed him through World War II and then to the grave until his last film, Family Plot, in 1976. He received AFI's Life Achievement Award in 1979 and died 1 year later. Hitchcock was the creator of many films, most of which are perceived today as classics. Hitchcock was nicknamed the Master of Suspense. He was attributed this name because of his ability to create intense psychological suspense and twists within his films using dialogue, shots, and colors.
Hitchcock directed Vertigo. He decided to use a rarely seen type of shot known as the dolly shot. It's an in-camera effect to create unsettling and suspenseful moments. It consists of either the background suddenly growing in size and detail and overwhelming the foreground, or the foreground becoming immense and dominating its previous setting. He used this shot so frequently in Vertigo and in his other films that it became also known as the Hitchcock zoom or the Vertigo effect.
Scotty, a retired police investigator with Vertigo, was asked by Gavin Elster, a college friend, to follow his wife Madeline because he is convinced that the ghost of Carlota Valdez, Madeline's great-grandmother, has possessed her. Scotty and Madeline begin to fall in love, but due to his vertigo, he is unable to stop her from jumping off a bell tower, and she dies. He becomes depressed and finds a woman that looks exactly like Madeline. Our main character, 1 year after going through rehab due to his trauma from Madeline's death, falls in love with Judy, a woman who has a shocking resemblance to Madeline.
He proceeds to transform her so that she is exactly the same as Madeline, hair, clothes, makeup, etc. As it turns out, this woman is not Madeline, but Judy Barton, a woman who was hired by Elster and who impersonated Madeline in a conspiracy to kill Elster's real wife and to use Scotty as a witness by taking advantage of his vertigo. Scotty puts it all together when he sees a red necklace that Judy puts on, which happens to be Carlota's and Madeline's necklace. He brings her to the bell tower to reveal that he understood what happened, and Judy jumps off, killing herself.
Hitchcock, in his film, adds in two parallel scenes, the first one being Madeline's suicide and the other being Judy's, aka the fake Madeline suicide. They both happen at the same location with the same light, same music, same folio effects, and types of shots. In both, there was an omnipresence of the theme of death and vertigo. They both also show more into the complicated character of Scotty. In the first, we see a vulnerable Scotty, who, at the end, blames himself for his beloved Madeline's death. There are various tilt shots to emphasize Scotty's vertigo and the intense height of the bell tower. The overhead tracking shots also show more of his height. Hitchcock also uses dolly zooms to further emphasize this. The close-ups on Scotty's face also show the change in emotion, from brave, when he realizes Madeline's about to kill herself, to scared, when he begins sweating and hyperventilating because he cannot take the height, and finally to guilt, when he sees Madeline's dead body on the lower roof. The lighting coming from the windows always hits his face perfectly to really make that focal point of the scene. The scene ends with Madeline's scream. The second scene shows a stronger Scotty, who is determined to overcome his vertigo for the woman he loves and for justice. He drags Judy up the tower, all while explaining what happened to Madeline and how guilty he felt, how it was all his fault in climbing up the steep steps. The same lighting hits Judy's and Scotty's faces to show their emotions. Scotty goes from brave like in the first one, when he drags Judy up the stairs, to determined, when he wants to get over his vertigo and confront Judy at the same time, to finally relieved, when he realizes he made it to the top.
We're going up and look at the scene of the crime.
We hear Judy scream as she jumps, and it reminds us of Madeline because it is the same scream.
God have mercy.
In this scene, we realize that Scotty blames himself for Madeline's death, which is exactly why he wants to turn Judy into Madeline.
In the second scene, Judy is looking into a mirror, Scotty is looking at her reflection from behind her. In this well-known scene, we could believe that Scotty, instead of looking at Judy, is in fact looking at her reflection, who is becoming Madeline. Here we see that Scotty isn't yet fully satisfied with Judy's transformation and wants her to adjust one more detail. Through the entire movie, the color green is associated with unsettling scenes, for which Hitchcock is a master of. For example, when Scotty first sees Madeline, she is wearing green. When they go into the forest and begin discussing about life, death, and everlasting trees, behind them there's a green sunset, enveloped by the green leaves of the immortal trees, which is another unsettling moment in this movie.
Also, when Scotty first meets Madeline, Scotty is wearing a green sweater.
In this scene, which could be interpreted as one of the most troubling scenes, Judy goes into the bathroom, which is lit by a soft green light. As Scotty waits for Judy to fully become Madeline, he is also lit by this green light, only continuing this theme of green being a suspenseful color. In this part, Hitchcock shows us the majority of this room, which has been taken over by the green where the characters are standing. The suspense is amplified by intense and dramatic music, followed by Madeline's resurrection. When she walks out, the green light is her spotlight, giving her the appearance of a blurred, ghostly figure, the ghost of Madeline. There's a back and forth between our two characters to show that this woman is now Madeline and that Scotty has once again fallen in love with her. As they kiss, there's a 360-degree rotation around them, changing the setting from the green hotel room to the bell tower where Scotty and Madeline last kissed, and then back to the room. Scotty gets distracted for a couple of seconds because he realizes that he is in a fantasy world and he cannot believe that Madeline is alive.
Cinematographically speaking, this film is important because Hitchcock invented new techniques like the dolly zoom shot and the computer animations from the beginning, from Scotty's dream. His film is one of the earliest major films that uses this technology. Steven Spielberg was largely influenced by Alfred Hitchcock. He is even known for being one of his biggest fans. In Spielberg's famous movie, Jaws, he actually uses Hitchcock's dolly zoom. Other known inspired directors include David Lynch and M. Night Shyamalan, among many others. This movie has inspired other movies. The most prominent example is the movie Officer, made in 2001. Its plot is the exact same as Vertigo's. A man asks a cop to keep an eye on his wife. Vertigo has made an imprint in Hollywood and even in other entertainment industries, with over 300 references. Some of the most known include Fahrenheit 451, House MD, Garfield, Basic Instinct, Shrek, CSI, Lord of the Rings, Indiana Jones, and even SNL.
Finally, we strongly recommend you to watch this amazing psycho-thriller movie. As you may become Alfred Hitchcock's #1 fans just like us and many others, we wanted to inform you that you can celebrate the National Alfred Hitchcock Day every year on the 12th of March.
Thank you.